Most common grammatical expressions, part 2. This video is a sequel to previous one of mine on the same topic, which was uploaded a year ago. I felt that the video needed an upgraded version. So, without further ado, let's dig in. Hi, my name is Tausif and welcome to my channel Grammar and Pronunciation for Non-Natives Online Learning. The first expression in our list is as a matter of fact. As a matter of fact means actually. For instance, as a matter of fact, we have been to the History Museum many times. As for means with regard to or concerning. For instance, as for me, I think that I will return home now. As if. As if means in the same way that something would be. For instance, the drink tastes as if it were made with orange juice. As well as means in addition to. For instance, please bring your swimming suit as well as your towel. Back and forth. Back and forth means backwards and forwards, first one way and then the other way. For instance, the argument went back and forth before the judge made a decision. Better off. Better off means to be in a better situation than before. For instance, my friend would better be off if he sold his old car and bought a new one. Come up with. Come up with means to produce or find a thought, idea, or answer. For instance, I tried to come up with a name for the new magazine. End up. End up means to do something that one had not planned to do. For instance, we ended up going to a restaurant after the movie last night. For good. For good means permanently. For instance, the city will close the public swimming pool for good next week. Get back to. Get back to means to return to something. For instance, I was happy to get back to my work after my holiday. Go ahead. Go ahead means to begin to do something. For instance, let's go ahead and start now. We can't wait any longer. Go on. Go on means to continue. For instance, the game will probably go on for an hour after we leave. Hang out. Hang out means to spend one's time with no great purpose. For instance, recently my friend has been hanging out with a group of people who are not a good influence on him. In common. In common means shared together or equally. For instance, I had nothing in common with the other members of the class. In detail. In detail means giving all the details item by item. For instance, the salesman explained about the new product in detail. In some ways. In some ways means in some unspecified way or manner. For instance, in some ways I know what my friend means, but in some ways I don't. Make a difference. Make a difference means to cause a change in a situation. For instance, it doesn't make a difference whether our boss comes to the meeting or not. More or less. More or less means somewhat, to some extent. For instance, I more or less have decided to study business next year. On the other hand. On the other hand means, however, in contrast, looking at the opposite side of a matter. For instance, he is very intelligent, but on the other hand, he is very lazy. Regardless of. Regardless of means without considering or thinking about something. For instance, regardless of the weather, we are going to go fishing tomorrow morning. To the extent that. To the extent that means to the degree that. Insofar as. For instance, I plan to provide information about the new company policy to the extent that I am familiar with it. Be used to. Be used to means accustomed to or habitual of. For instance, my friend is not used to living in such big city. As I said earlier, there are of course hundreds of different types of expressions. The more you learn, the more you enrich your language. That's all for today. Thanks very much.